there was a debate meant to happen yesterday at the Oxford Union between a Pakistani and Indian delegation on the topic that this House believes that India's policy towards Pakistan is a populist strategy sold as security policy. But at the very last minute, the Indian delegation backed out. And we have the president of the Oxford Union, Moosa Harraj, with us to tell us exactly what happened. So, Moosa, would you tell us, did you hear back from the Indian delegation at all as to why they withdrew?
Thank you so much for inviting me to your show, Aisha. It's a pleasure to be here. I have no idea why the Indian delegation dropped out. We organized this debate in June. That's when we planned for the topic. That's when we planned for the debate. And in July, August, we confirmed the speakers and everything was ready to go. Look, some dropouts are normal to happen, but this was surprising to me given the scale of the debate and given how sensationalized it was, how much interest was there behind the debate. My gut sense behind why the Indian delegation dropped out is that it is very easy for them to be in India and go on Indian TV shows where the anchors are very friendly towards Mr. Modi and his regime and answer softball questions about India's policy towards Pakistan and about India's foreign policy. But that's one thing to do that, and it's one thing to come to the Oxford Union, which is the last bastion of free speech, where every sentence you say, every narrative you say will be held to account and will be exposed. So my understanding is that after what India did in May, those surgical strikes in Pakistan, where innocent civilian lives were lost, is an indefensible position. And then to suspend the Indus Waters Treaty, which has survived about 3 wars. It's putting water on the war field, which is nothing short of an act of hydroterrorism. I think some of these positions were so indefensible for them that perhaps they had second thoughts about coming to the Oxford Union and representing those views. And despite them pulling out, as president, it was up to me as the organizer of the debate, as the organizer of the term. It was up to me to decide what to do. And when they pulled out, I decided that I would still continue on with the debate and we would still hold the debate. So instead of the Indian delegation, we had student speakers in the debate. And I was the lead speaker from Side Pakistan. I was the head of the Pakistani team and opened the case for the Pakistan side. And we won by 2/3.
I'm sure you had planned this debate in advance. So did they know about this topic before? And how long ago had you informed them? And is it usual, or is it normal for somebody to cancel on a debate and a day before it's meant to happen?
Look, the debate was planned. It was organized by me in June. And that's when, end of June roughly, is when we sent out the invitation. So they had plenty of notice. And they knew a long time ago about the debate. So, and sometimes, people do drop out. Life happens, there's emergencies happen, there's issues. People do drop out. But I was surprised and I was shocked at the Indian delegation not coming to this point because of how important this debate is. It is when you hold a debate at the Oxford Union, that sets the discourse for around the world. When you say something at the Oxford Union, that reverberates around the world. And I thought especially a debate like this would be whatever you say in the chamber will echo around the world. So it was very important for them to come, and I am disappointed that the Indian delegation did not come.
And what does this mean for the union itself? Because, as you said, having a debate at the union is a very big deal. And then for India to not show up, but then what impact does that leave on any future debates happening, especially between India and Pakistan?
Look, that the impact on the union, the Oxford Union has survived 2 world wars. It survived generational change. It survived a lot. The impact on the delegation pulled out, but it was their loss because the debate still went on, and the debate continued, and we had a fantastic debate. I was the head of the Pakistani team. I opened the case for Side Pakistan and the proposition, and we did a fantastic show. And the result of the debate was a 2/3 victory for Side Pakistan. So the debate went on, and debates will continue to happen in the future. And I can only hope that in the future, you have engagement because engagement is very important. It is crucial. And I said this in my speech as well. The biggest victims of Modi's fascist policies is not the people of Pakistan, it's the people of India themselves. So it's important for us to have these debates so they can also see the damage that their government is causing.
So was there an immediate reaction from the people who had come to watch this debate, and especially among the Indian students at Oxford?
So the reaction was the results speak for itself. But we had a lot of students come in, and we had from the Indian side some Indian students who were speaking and defending the Indian argument, the Indian side, and it was a very civil, a very spirited debate, and the 2/3 result shows how strong the Pakistani case is. The 2/3 mandate is a repudiation of the fascist and the anti-Muslim policies the Modi government has engaged in. And one or two points I made in my opening speech, in my case for Team Pakistan, in my case for the proposition, which I think particularly struck a chord with the audience and particularly the Indians as well, because there were a lot of Indians as well who voted for Side Pakistan, who voted not for Side Pakistan, but who voted in favor of the motion, who voted that they believe that India's response is a populist strategy. There were people there who are Indian, who grew up in India, who believed in that motion. And a couple of points I made it were very important. I think one was that if you light a fire, if you light the fire of anti-Muslim, if you light the fire of hatred, of fear, if you think you can light it across the border every time you are down in the polls, if you think you can light that fire across the border every time you have no answer for unemployment and want a rallying cry, then that fire will one day come inside your house as well. It will come inside your country as well. And that fire is going to burn your independence of the judiciary. It's going to burn your freedom of the press, and it's going to burn the democratic soul of your country. And that is pertinent because India itself has over 200 million Muslims. And the other point I made, which I think which resonated with people, was to draw a parallel, because what we are seeing is Modi and Netanyahu, both of them are two brothers in hate. They're both brothers united in hatred. And one needs to villainize the Arabs. One needs the Arabs as an enemy to continue on as prime minister. The other needs the Muslims as an enemy to continue as prime minister. And both of them engage in policies to persecute these groups to maintain their grip and hold on power.
It's interesting to hear that there were a lot of Indian students who voted for the Pakistani side as well, and I think that's the whole purpose of debates, especially far away from home. Like there's a lot of tension here on the border between India and Pakistan, but I think what's special about having debates at a place like Oxford Union is that you can engage with each other on the basis of facts. And so, do you think this will have an impact on the way debates happen, especially between two countries like India and Pakistan? Do you think in the future then the Indians would only want to engage on like maybe safe topics?
Look, I can't talk about the future, but I can tell you about the present and where the trends are. And the present and the trend is that about, in the last general election in India, only 35 to 36% of the people voted for the BJP. That is not the majority of the Indians, right? And I think there is more that unites us than divides us. And we have had some incredible debates at the Oxford Union, and I can only hope that in the future we have good discussion between the Pakistani side and the Indian side, because engagement is crucial. Engagement and open dialogue is the crucial of any civil society, and I can only hope that we engage in that in the future.
Right, and even post-May or even before the 4-day conflict took place, we asked for an open investigation, something that they didn't really take us up on. And it seems like this is also falls into pattern with Modi's absence on a lot of world forums where he might have to face these questions or, concede the fact that they did lose out on this conflict that they would rather paint otherwise to their public.
Look, they need that, right? They need it because for them, this is, and I commend the response of the Pakistan Armed Forces, and I commend the response of the Pakistani government, because this is one of the few incidents where after their strikes, we were able to claim not just the military victory in this, but we were also able to claim a moral, a diplomatic, and from the viewpoint of the world, a media victory in this as well.
People who don't know much about the significance of having a debate at the Oxford Union, if you could just explain a bit, what does it mean to be having a debate there?
Gee, of course. The Oxford Union is the world's most prestigious debate society. And when we hold debates at the Oxford Union, they set the discourse for around the world. I'll give you a couple of examples. We had a debate in 1933, over 100 years, nearly 100 years ago now, that this house would not fight for king and country. This was when the British at the time were getting ready to fight against the Germans. And that debate, the Oxford Union voted in favor. And it was all over the British media. It reported in America at the time as well. And in the Parliament, in the House of Lords, they had a debate about this as well. And since then, and Winston Churchill's son, Lord Randolph Churchill, spoke in that. So since then, we have a history. Whenever we have debates, they mean something. Because what does that imply? The most prestigious speaking society in the world is organizing a debate. And it first shines attention to that topic. But then what happens? You have hundreds of Oxford scholars who sit in the audience and who hear people from both sides. And you have good speakers on both sides. You have people who are articulate, people who can make great speeches on both sides. You have the Oxford scholars sitting in the audience and they hear from both sides and then they make up their mind on which side they want to vote on. So that sends a message. The result of the debate sends a message. It sends a message of what happens when two good debating sides, two good speakers make their case. They present their case with facts. They present their case with argument, and they don't rely on slogans and narratives, but they focus on the hardcore realities. And when they do that, what does an educated audience vote for? And what we saw happening in this case, that educated audience voted that India's policy towards Pakistan is a populist strategy that they sell as a security policy.
And has this ever happened before? Has somebody pulled out like this out of a debate?
We have individual people pulling out here and there, right? Like people, you have family emergencies happen, things like that happen, or health emergencies and people pull out. But in my time, I've not seen an entire delegation like this pull out, no.
And there hasn't been any kind of statement from the Indian side yet?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Right. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Moosa.